Today I'm going to be showing you how to use Camera Raw editing tool in Adobe Photoshop. Today I'm going to edit Tiara. She's very pretty and she really doesn't need a lot of editing, but when I took this, the sun was going down quickly, so the lighting was changing constantly. If you don't know anything about Camera Raw, then if you have a DSLR, you could go into the menu and switch it over to RAW plus JPEG. If you're uncomfortable with RAW, most professional photographers use RAW because there's so much adjusting you can do. If it's too dark, you can lighten it. If you lighten a JPEG too much in Photoshop, it messes the photo up and it is unusable. But with this, you can do just about anything. So this is kind of dark, so I'm going to start with adjusting the color. So I'm going to click the white balance dropper up here, and because she has a white bracelet on, I'm going to click on it, and that gives me a pretty accurate color adjustment. You could do auto, and sometimes that works, but I don't really use that. Another thing I'm going to do is bring up the brightness because she is a little dark, and often I go into the fill light just to lighten some of the shadows. So she's looking tiny bit pink, so I'm going to bring this down just a bit. Blacks, you can use that to do contrast. When I add contrast, I usually use the black slider and not the contrast slider. The vibrance to make the overall color more vibrant. This is your curves adjustments. Sometimes I use this. I use it more in real estate photography to lighten the shadows. But overall you can lighten, kind of add contrast to the darks, boost highlights. This is the sharpening tool. I don't really mess with this too much. And this right here is the color slider. The saturation, you can obviously boost saturation for different colors. When you're messing with the oranges and the reds, you've got to be careful because it changes the tone of the skin. If you go to hue, you can change the colors. For instance, her bathing suit is blue. If you drag the slider, you can change color. There's teal, purple, kind of like the teal. Let's leave it at that because that's kind of cool. Or green, you can change how bright it is or how yellow it is. Just for the sake of doing it, I'm going to play with it. Saturation, going back here. Luminance, I use this sometimes when you go back on the slider. It usually makes it darker. If you go forward, it makes it a little lighter. Darker, lighter. And I don't mess with split toning. This is your lens correction. I do use this pretty often. I click this box, go to Nikon, what I'm using, and I'm using a 15mm 1.4. So I have that clicked and it automatically fixes it. So before, after, it does not really improve it. I kind of like it beforehand, so I'm going to leave it. For this, I usually just use the rotation tool in case it's a little off, and then scale to bring it in a little bit. These up here, I usually use for real estate. I don't really use it much for this. And then this right here is so you can brighten the edges or darken the edges. I would say don't go overboard with that. This I don't usually add grain, and this right here I don't usually touch either. This is your actions palette, so if you've edited something and you really like the way you've done it, you can go over here to this little menu bar and say save settings, and everything you just did will automatically save. So, and then you can hit save, and it'll ask you to rename it, but I am not going to save it. And then you can go back over here. Another thing that I like to use, I do use this so you can straighten something. You just go along the edge. If you have an edge to straighten, I'm not messing with it because I don't have to straighten. This is spot removal. You can use this in here if you want. I usually just do it in Photoshop. So, and then this is red eye removal. This does work, but I never have red eyes. So this right here is the adjustment brush. I do use this. So you want to go new. To reset all of these settings, I hit the minus button or the plus button, and it resets them all. You right click on your mouse and drag it back and forth to make your brush bigger or smaller. I'm going to do that, and I'm going to make it a little bit darker. Bring up the saturation, and I'm going to actually color the background a little bit, just so I can show you. And then I'm going to hit new, and then I'm going to reset it again. I'm going to boost the exposure just a little bit and the brightness a little bit, and I'm going to go over her face and her skin. And you can adjust what you just did by dragging this back. Another thing you can do is kind of a cheat to smooth out the skin is you can go to clarity and bring it down and boost the sharpness, and then go in and color. Now when you lower the clarity and you boost the sharpening, it smooths her skin, but it also keeps it looking kind of natural. And I'm going to reset this exposure because I don't need that set. I don't know what I just did. Oops. Okay. I'm going to drag this exposure down because I do not want that in there. I do use an action in Photoshop for this, so, but you can do it this way too if you don't have an action. Before, after, and I am done. Thank you for watching.